Alright, wanted to make a quick video on my experiences with the new Glock Performance Trigger. This is my primary USPSA gun. It's a Gen 5 Glock 19. And about a year ago I put the Glock Performance Trigger in it. Right out of the box, had some issues. I kind of read of a lot of other people having the same issue, but I had the little trigger shoe right there, the little shoe safety. It would catch on the frame. So immediately it was just this horrible, uncomfortable, awkward trigger press. I hated it. Kind of saw what was happening though, so I just took about 5 seconds and kind of radiused the back of that shoe safety, the very bottom of it, and it cleaned it right up to where it felt like a normal Glock trigger did. Haven't had any issues with that since, but I am warning you, if you buy this product, you may or may not have the same issues. Moving on. So I've had it, like I said, about a year, mainly over the winter months. I'm just starting to really shoot it now. But I did get a couple matches in with it over the winter and last summer. Got about 2,000 rounds on it right now, no failures. And I've got, tens of thousands of dry fire trigger presses. And since we're talking about dry fire trigger presses, I'll talk about one of my favorite features of the trigger type, and that is that you can smash this thing all day long and it'll return. Normal Glocks, you can't do that. You have to reset the slide, or as I used to do, put a piece of cardboard in the action there and keep it kind of held open a little out of battery, and you could manipulate the trigger for dry fire practice. But that is one thing that I really like about the new performance trigger, is that you can do that all day long. And the reason you can do that all day long is because they totally changed how the Glock pistol pulls the firing striker pin back. Traditionally and pretty much every Glock, the striker would be at rest, and when you were pulling the trigger, you'd be pulling it back until the firing pin would drop and go forward. Now it is cocked, and it's always cocked. Would I use this for carry? Probably not, or in any duty fashion, probably not. I think there's a lot of safety that revolves around having a striker or a firing pin at rest, not having it cocked. I do realize that there's a lot of other safeties. You have your trigger shoe safety still in place, and you do have a firing pin block in place. But if you manage to pull that trigger, it's going to go off, and it's lighter and probably easier to do than the previous generations of trigger. So to me, this trigger is purely a competition or kind of plinking thing. I do not carry this gun anymore because of that, which is kind of a bummer. Take it out of the carry rotation, but is what it is. I've always really gravitated towards Glocks for that feature, for that kind of double action feature of pulling the striker back to discharge around. I like that. I don't know. Some people hate it, but I like it. There are some improvements with the trigger. Obviously, it's lighter. Mine pulls fairly consistently at 3 pounds 14 ounces. Every once in a while, it's 3 pounds 12, in between there. Just depends on how clean it is, really. That is a lot better than the stock 5-pound trigger from Glock. Will it make you a better shooter? No. Dry fire. Go practice. Take lessons from reputable people. That will make you a better shooter. Not parts, not things. You can't buy performance. Sorry. I've used this gun solely in USPSA for 2 years now, going on 3. And I got to master. That's where I'm at in CO. Carry Optics is master classified shooter. And I did it with a stock trigger. This is a new one. Does it help me in matches? Not really. I do like it for sure. But if you were to give me an old trigger, I'd be just happy and I would not complain. I'd be fine with it. Moving on. I do like how it's reduced weight of the pull, and I like how it's a shorter pull and it's a shorter reset. I like that. It's still a fairly tactile reset. I know a lot of people really like that about the Glocks. That real tactile reset. I like that. a lot of people like that. That's still there. It's not as tactile and kind of audible as it was before. Here, I'll just do it. But it's still there, so is what it is. Overall, I think it's a good trigger. You know, the downsides are obviously the striker is always cocked, if you will. It's always loaded. Another downside is, and a lot of people, especially in the competition circuits that do a lot of rounds, have had issues with the shoe not returning, or being really sluggish, or becoming really heavy to pull. I have not had that issue with this one. The only above issue I have had is it every once in a while I'll be dry firing. It's like, whoa, okay, something's going on with that trigger because it got noticeably heavier. Whenever that happens, I just add lube. I think the manual says like every 250 rounds, don't quote me on lubricating it, and that's pretty much what I do. About every match I will lubricate. Just when I say lubricate, I take a drop of Slip 2000 Militech, your favorite engine oil, and I just put a drop right on the trigger. Got some birds fighting. Yeah, I just put a drop on the trigger. I kind of treat it like I would a AR-15. I don't clean it. I don't keep it meticulously clean. You know, it's gonna get dirty. Just like a Glock, just like an AR, they get very dirty inside very quickly. So I don't clean them. I just add lube. I mean, it's such an easier thing to do than cleaning it. Just keep adding lube, you know. Downside, normal Glocks, no, you don't have to lube or clean them. Glock Performance Trigger, yep, you're gonna have to clean and lube it. I don't clean it per se. I just add lube. I treat it like an AR-15, just keep adding lube, and I've had great success with that so far. In that 2,000 rounds, no hiccups, and all that is in competition and dry fire pretty much. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm gonna do going forward, is just add lube. I recommend that you do that as well, and I think that kind of just makes a lot of sense for shooters versus taking this whole thing apart. And there is kind of a special tool that you need to get one of the springs back together in it. Makes it a lot easier. So yeah, that's pretty much my experience. Pretty much sums it up. Would I buy it? Maybe. I don't know. It is kind of fun playing with it because it is a Glock trigger. That was the biggest selling point for me, as it was a Glock product. There's a lot of really great videos on the geometry and stuff with it. I'm a shooter. I'm not a gunsmith. Go watch those videos if that's what you want, you know. But, you know, for competition, I think it's good. It has worked for me. You know, would I buy it again? Maybe. I don't know. I think, I'm guessing this trigger will have a Generation 2 to it, and hopefully some improvements with that lubricant issue and the trigger not returning. If there's a Gen 2, I would probably buy it and test it out again. So that's kind of where I stand with it. So yeah, go out there and shoot. Hope to see you on the range.